Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Way the World Works. Today, I want to talk about the World Economic Forum. So let me put this into maybe something that's more accessible. Do you know what I really love? I really love when people who don't know me but think they know better than I do and think they know more than I do. I love when they get together and they try to plan what's best for me and plan my decisions. That's great, isn't it? We all love that. Right? It's great. We love when people do that. Imagine if your siblings, maybe you're the youngest, imagine if your siblings all got together and decided what was like best for you or how you were going to spend your day. You wouldn't like it, right? Well, the World Economic Forum, they like to get together and they like to pretend that they know so much more about the economy than we do, not even our own country's economy, the global economy than we do, and that they're going to propose all these policies on how to better our lives or what the best course forward is. But they don't know anything about us. In fact, they are usually so powerful and so high up and such elites that they are so out of touch from what the regular person actually experiences that it's silly to believe they could contribute anything to knowing what we need in our lives. So recently, world leaders, CEOs, and these, stewards of humanities like to call themselves, or these experts, they all gathered in Davos, Switzerland, and they gathered for this World Economic Forum, right? A place where they get together and talk about how they're going to fix all the world's problems because, again, they know better than us, right? You might remember it was around the pandemic time, the World Economic Forum, they had this idea that people should stop having individual ownership, that private property shouldn't exist, that no one should own anything anymore, that you will own nothing and you will be happy. And there's this whole it's like the sharing economy and we love things like Uber and things like that. But this was worse. This was saying that none of us should own our own resources, which is a really scary road to go down. So World Economic Forum is not really who I'm putting all my trust in when it comes to fixing all the world's problems. In fact, a lot of these people are creating the world's problems. So every year they have a theme. And this year it was the spirit of dialogue. So the spirit of all coming together and having an open conversation about how we want to rule your lives and how much more we know than everybody else, right? Which is basically all they ever do. Normally what that looks like is talking about AI, talking about energy. There's a lot of push for, this green energy, things like that. Economic growth, of course, but what that looks like to them and what it should be in reality, who knows? And all the ways their central planning can make us better. And remember, we don't like central planning when it's, our own government trying to centrally plan for everybody. And this is even sillier. I talked in another episode about what it would be like if you tried to plan a birthday party for someone who lived in another country, all the way across the globe, or vice versa, if they were doing that to you. They probably wouldn't have a very good birthday party because you don't know what they like. You don't know their interests. You don't even know who to invite for them to be happy. And that's exactly what the World Economic Forum, it's the very worst of global governance. And even though this isn't an official government, right? This isn't like a global government with any real power. They absolutely have power because these are the people that do set the pace. These are the people that pay lobbyists to tell our politicians what policies to pass and what bills to get on board with. These are the people who, create new burgeoning technologies and try to control those industries. So these are very powerful people that while they have no actual government role, they are still largely influence what happens in the world. And like most governments that want control over your choices, a lot of times this becomes part of, it's for the greater good. It's for the environment. It's for, we need to get rid of economic disparities. Everybody should be making the same amount of money, or we all need to have the same prosperity. And, these people can't be trusted to run their own lives. And unfortunately, some people buy this. There's a lot of people that would rather put all their decisions in hands of alleged experts than actually get engaged and understand what's going on. Some people simply want to outsource that responsibility. And that's a problem, right? That is why on this, podcast and in Tuttle Twins books, when we talk about living in a free society, so much of that involves taking your own personal responsibility because that is such an important part of creating a free society. Because if we stop doing that, if we outsource problem solving to the government, one, they're not good at it. And two, the knowledge problem. We talk about this time and again with Hayek. And Hayek was saying that governments can't centrally plan because they don't have all the information about what each of us wants to accurately form these one-size-fits-all policies that are supposed to apply to everybody. And it's kind of scary if you think about it. there's so many people get called conspiracy theorists and all this, but like the World Economic Forum is one of those things where it's like a shady group that isn't even elected that does literally get together and talk about the rules they want to make for us or the agendas they want to push. And while it's not like a conspiracy, we know it's happening. I think a lot of people do dismiss how scary it is to buy into this idea or to think that these people do know any better than us. And because this is a global entity, you get a lot of people pushing this European socialism idea as if European socialism is so great. You know, we always laugh that one of the best ways to know that European socialism isn't great is the fact that they don't even all have air conditioners. They don't use it. America, we have air conditioning. We are living far, far more prosperous. You know, I love Paris. I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite cities in the world. But even after going to Paris, when you come back into the United States, there is a sense of just, oh, thank goodness, because there are so many things we have here that we are fortunate to have, like air conditioning, that make you realize how great the free market is. And it's funny because these elitists might try to say like, oh, Americans, they're these greedy capitalists and it's like they'd rather have air conditioning than economic equality and be taxed, you know, to oblivion. And it's like, yeah. We would, because it is a better system. The free market is a better system, and we're not perfect, obviously. We have a lot of economic issues within our own country, but it's easier to work out problems in your own country than it is when there's a global body trying to, you know, conspire on what agenda they should push. So the important takeaway from all this is, one, to know what it is, to know what's going on, and to also know when you hear World Economic Forum, it sounds very official, right? And it sounds almost like it's a legitimate thing just because it has an official title. And it's not. It's just a conference of a bunch of people who think that they're better than you, who think that they know more than you, who want to set agendas that are going to bleed into every government in many countries. And then you're going to see that agenda pushed, like the you will own nothing and you will be happy situation. And so we need to be aware that this is happening. We have to make sure we know that and know that the antidote to these horrible collectivist ideas is individualism, is the free market, is being able to understand these ideas. And what makes America so great isn't that we're automatically just a great country because we're a great country because our founding is rooted in individualism. It is rooted in free market capitalism and this belief that you should be able to work and buy and sell from whoever you want to, because that is an individual's right, that we have rights like property ownership that should not be ignored just because some guy who, by the way, wears a very weird costume. I can't remember his name. He wears like a spacesuit. I'm not even making this up in Google. The guy that said you will own nothing and you will be happy looks like somebody who went to Comic-Con, these conferences where people dress like superheroes. It's pretty funny. Google a picture after. That's your homework assignment. But we shouldn't be listening to these people. We should be remembering our roots and remembering that American ideals, this idea that we are free and that we are individuals, that's the antidote to all this chaos that's going on around the world. You know, Europe can do what Europe wants and they can have their no air conditioning, and these other countries can choose socialism, and good luck with that. We've seen what's happened in places like Venezuela. But let's remember that what makes us so special is that we do have these ideals that are just that blow the others out of the water. So I will leave it there. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. And until next time, I will talk to you later.